it takes two to be in a relationship, right? A lot of times you'll start to feel like you didn't make a good decision because maybe along the way, when you start to get signs and indicators, you didn't really listen to yourself that something is off. And so what happens is it begins to ding your own trust within yourself. And then if you stay in that relationship, so can you tell me a little bit more about some of the experiences maybe you personally have had or some of your friends? I think that would be helpful for both the male and female listeners, because sometimes things are happening and we don't really recognize it as a trauma coming into the relationship.
Sure, it could be as simple as, like for me, I'm in technology. I run large-scale teams. I deal with people offshore all the time. And actually, several of my friends do as well. So I'm constantly on my phone, right? I'm on my phone responding to text messages, emails, phone calls, dealing with family and friends.
Yes.
And so for previous women I've dated, and for my friends as well, that scene is, oh, you got to be talking to somebody. You cheating on me. You're doing something that you're not supposed to do. I'm like, no, I've got work to do. And, that gets annoying. So, and that could lead to, even though I'm not doing what you accuse me of, but that could lead to a lack of distrust and just some other issues that could deteriorate the relationship.
Yeah, that's spot on. And I'm definitely seeing the codependency that is tied up in there. It's true that, who we are, we're the sum total of our experiences. And those experiences being very pleasant experiences or traumatic experiences. And if we don't take the time to really process through those experiences, then they oftentimes can come in and look like it's just a different face. Now, in the example that you gave just now, the codependent pattern right there is insecurity. The codependent pattern is insecurity. The woman in that case is insecure with herself that she has chosen or been able to attract a man who can be fully present in the current relationship. If she's had an experience where there has been infidelity in the past, then it's not even so much that she doesn't, it's not so much about not trusting the man, even though that is a variable. What she really is thinking underneath is, how did I make this mistake? How did I mess up so much in that relationship? And so a lot of times what happens is she beats herself up for making what is a poor decision, when really it's just a decision that was made, and it takes two to be in a relationship, right? A lot of times you'll start to feel like you didn't make a good decision because maybe along the way, when you start to get signs and indicators, you didn't really listen to yourself that something is off. And so what happens is it begins to ding your own trust within yourself. And then if you stay in that relationship long enough, then that really erodes the trust within yourself. And then you begin to think, well, every man must be just like that. If the woman, even after the relationship, hasn't processed through with a coach or a therapist, that one, not all men cheat, not all men are dishonest, and that the big opportunity there was for her to not to have chosen that person, but that when she did start getting indicators, that she would stand for herself, that she would, if what she was starting to feel was something feels off here, he's not really being honest, I've caught him being dishonest, maybe I've caught him in the act, then she did, the breakdown was that she didn't then follow her own instinct. She didn't follow a natural course of action that would support her. And so that then can come into the relationship. And I can see where that would be extremely frustrating for the new man in your life who is trying to show up powerfully, and has given you no indication that there is infidelity going on in the relationship, but she's bringing that past trauma with her. What I would suggest in that particular space would be a conversation needs to be had, a crucial conversation around what does trust really look like in our relationship. If we have agreed that being in a sexually exclusive relationship is a part of the standards that we want to hold for ourselves, then we're going to agree to that. He's agreeing, and the woman is agreeing. Once they've laid out sort of some standards around what it is that's important to them, because not all people want to be in a sexually exclusive relationship, but once that's established, then we can also talk about what needs to be in place in order to support that. He has the right to live a life that is free of judgment and ridicule and scrutiny, blaming, accusing. He has the right to have that experience. No one wants to be in a relationship where they're not trusted. So for the woman, it may be time for her to seek some outside support, outside help, so that she can navigate through healing that past trauma. For him, I would say there's an opportunity to be really supportive in understanding and depersonalizing that what she is saying is really directed at him, when really what she's saying is really directed at the man who is not standing there before her. So if the relationship is valuable enough to him and something that he really wants to stay in, there's an opportunity for him to depersonalize it, support her, and bring her back to herself, holding her accountable to the standards that they have set in their relationship. So that's one way of looking at it. I would be really intrigued to hear about any other ways where past trauma may be coming into the relationship, because I think it's an important issue. Like I said, sometimes we don't even know that it's happening. Have you had any other experiences?
I mean, it shows up in a plethora of ways, whether it's could be in disagreements, right? You want to maybe thwart or not have a discussion because maybe your previous discussion may have gotten physical. So now you say yes, and but you don't even share your opinion. And when I think about that, I think about this scene in Coming to America with Vanessa Bell Calloway. Eddie Murphy's asking her questions.
Whatever
you like, right? But she doesn't have any opinion of her own, right?
Yeah.
I like to be in a relationship with a woman that has an opinion of her own and understands herself.
Yes.
So when I ask a question, provide back your perspective on how you see it, so we both can grow. And so that there could have been, in a previous relationship where it's just she wasn't allowed to do that. And so now when I ask a question or try to engage, there's no engagement. So now you're really not talking or communicating or building any level of intimacy. So that could be another example. Again, the trauma can show up in so many different ways, and just shut off, the communication and trust and intimacy in the current relationship.
I think you've made some really valid points that the trust, which is the foundation of all relationships, the trust is the foundation upon which we build respect and communication, and then the love is able to blossom on top of that. Anytime a woman has been in a sexually, mentally, emotionally, or physically abusive relationship, that trauma becomes deeply embedded within her, and support is actually needed a lot of times to be able to kind of move beyond that. Again, I give the example of or the opportunity for the man to really stand in support of her, because that new relationship is in a lot of ways reshaping her paradigm, because you only know what you know when you know it. And if you've never been in a relationship where you've had a supportive male partner, where you've had a man who honored who you are, respects that, celebrates that, uplifts that, then when it shows up, it may feel like it's not real. There's a period of time, I think, where you may question whether or not it's safe for you to come out and be your fullest version of yourself, especially if you've been in a relationship where that was not acknowledged, celebrated, wanted, desired, and in fact, it was punished if you did that. And that's what a lot of abusive relationships do. They cause the person, the abused, to operate within a very narrow space. And so the person begins to shrink. And so what I would say to a person that's in that situation is to continue to encourage the partner that it is a safe space, and that your opinion, your perspective, who you are as an individual is welcome and wanted. And again, this goes back to some of those standards in the relationship, that I want to have a relationship where, we're on equal footing. We allow ourselves to speak our truth, and that is celebrated. This brings me to another thought that I was having on the inverse, though, around men and men feeling comfortable with sharing their feelings and their perspective in a relationship. If they have been in a situation, in a relationship where the truth has not been welcomed by the female, that could be a space where the man doesn't feel that it is now safe for him to truly express himself emotionally and really give his opinion without there being some type of punitive action on the back end of that. Is that something that you could relate to as well?
For sure. I think men do that all the time, right, with our comments. I don't think, there is a consistent space where, when you're dealing with a woman, in this case, for me and my friends and I, where, we can share our full and true desire, right? You're always compromising that a little bit or holding something back to where, oh, yeah, I know if I say this will happen.
Yeah.
Or if I say this, it will be misinterpreted as though I don't love her or don't want to be here.
Yeah.
I think that happens on a day-to-day basis. You learn that just as a child, dealing with, if you have siblings, your mom, your sister, other women, and even just other people, recognizing that, we're not really taught to be able to share our full desires and what we fully think, because that can cause some type of scorn or some backlash.
That's interesting, because I agree that both partners being able to provide a space where they both can be true and authentically who they are. What you've cited is a codependent pattern where men shrink back and only share what they know is going to get a thumbs up. That they only share what they think is going to get a that a boy, or oh yes baby, that's great. But that keeps the man from really being the fullest expression of himself, and it robs the woman of honesty, which we're talking about building relationships on the foundation of trust. That trust is not really there. And again, when a man has had that experience in the past, that doesn't mean that he has to bring that into the current relationship. Both partners have this opportunity to define for themselves what is going to work for them. And the beginning point of that is taking my codependency quiz. This is going to help you to really decide whether or not you too have been shrinking back or bringing past traumas into your current relationship and really distorting the love that is present for you. So all you have to do is click the link below, take the quiz. It's about 3 to 5 minutes, but it's going to give you tremendous insight. And if you find that codependency is wreaking havoc in your life, then the next step for you would be to register for my Conquer Codependency boot camp. It's a 30-day boot camp where I'm going to personally shepherd you through taking back control of your own life. I'm Tracey Knight, and I'm your codependency coach. I want to thank my guests for being here in studio and invite those of you who would like to come in studio to leave me a comment below, because I'd love to have you come in and have a conversation. You also can like us and subscribe to the channel and then share it out with some of your friends. I want to remind you again that today is the day that we begin to take back, transform, and win at the game called life. I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks so much again for being here.